Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Kind of a knife video, I guess. What I actually have here is a bunch of chopping stuff, okay? So I've got a couple of tomahawks, I've got the CRKT Kanji here, I've got the SOG Tactical Tomahawk, I have the Becker BK9, I have the Schrade SC Axe 10. I've got the SE 6 and I've got the small East Wing hatchet here. I can't remember the model number on this. Okay, so I've got all of this stuff for chopping, and the discussion that I want to share with you right now, hopefully I won't shake. I'm on my back deck, so hopefully when I strike, the deck won't shake too much. But what I want to do is compare the chopping performance on all of these and speak a little bit to the versatility of these. And the idea being here is that you may be deciding, hey, I'm going on a camping trip, I'm going on an overnight, I'm going on a hike, an afternoon hike, and I think each of these tools has a place. The question is what to carry at what time. How does that work out the best? All right, so what I'm gonna do is I've got this piece of wood here. I'm going to change the camera. You won't be able to see my head here in a second. You're just gonna see my hands and my jeans, but you will be able to see how these various things strike into wood. And I've got this piece of wood here that is fairly hard. Now it has been cold, so probably the moisture in the wood has frozen, and that's gonna change the performance a little bit, but it will I'll be hitting the same piece of wood, so you'll still be able to see how each of these penetrates material and what their chopping ability really is. And I'm kind of going to start with the knives and work up to, I'm going to go the SC6, then the BK9, then from there we'll go up to the SOG Tactical Tomahawk and the CRKT, and then finally we'll finish off with the two that I suspect will do the best job at chopping, which are the two hatchets, okay? So after that, I'll be able to make some commentary on all of this, and I will have to change the camera one more time. So I'm gonna come up and change the camera here now and get into the chopping and some commentary on that. Okay, so I'm back here now. As I said, you probably won't be able to see my head, but you will be able to see the piece of wood now. And I want to go ahead and chop into this a little bit. And I'm gonna clean some of the bark off so that that's not kind of interfering with performance. I did chip this a little bit when I was getting ready for this whole video. So let's start off with the SE6, okay? And I am gonna choke down on the blade a little bit the way you normally would if you were gonna try to chop with this. And I'm just gonna hit right here. Okay, so there's the penetration on the SE6. You can see, you know, a good ½ inch or so of penetration into that wood. Next, let's do the BK9. This obviously is going to be a better chopper than the SE6. And sure enough, it bites much deeper. There's a far greater amount of material here than compared to the SE6. Now here's one of the comparisons that I think you're going to want to pay attention to. Watch as we do the SOG Tactical Tomahawk compared to the BK9, okay? Notice that it actually doesn't bite in that much deeper. Now, next we've got the Kanji, CRKT Kanji. Again, similar performance to the SOG, all right? Now I've got the Schrade SC Axe 10. I'm gonna move over just a little bit right to here, so you'll still be able to see it, but I don't wanna interfere with my swing. And that has bitten the best so far. It is very deeply buried in there. I'll talk about that in a second. Finally, we have one more. Now, there is a lot more weight here than anything else we've swung, okay? So that weight is going to make a significant difference as well. There we go. So here are all of the tools buried into our piece of wood here. And there's a couple things that I want to notice. Notice, of course, weight makes a huge difference. Okay, but weight is not the only thing that makes a difference. This BK9 is much lighter than the SOG Tactical Tomahawk. However, it bit very, very deeply, and that's largely because of the edge profile on these two. Okay, hold on, some of these are, that doesn't even want to come out. There we go. That's how deep it bit. The difference between these two has to do with the edge geometry, okay? So this is a much thinner body of steel going into the material, so it bites really, really deep, okay? On the other hand, this is a very, very open, very wedge-shaped tool, which means you're putting a lot of material through that wood, okay? So it doesn't bite as deep, therefore you're going to be doing more swings. Now there is, in my situation, I kind of purposely handicap myself by not standing up, but there is much more length here, so you could theoretically generate more force with the SOG, okay? Now, the Schrade is a kind of a middle ground, okay? It weighs a little more than the CRKT. By the way, the CRKT bit only a little bit more than the SOG, and I've tested these two compared before quite a number of times, and they're very similar to each other, okay? This bit really deep because look how thin that edge is as it goes back. So you need very little force, and you're going to get a ton of penetration. And in fact, this penetration is almost the same, and maybe even is the same as the penetration on the SE, even though the SE is heavier. Now here's the difference between them. The shorter handle on this does contribute to fatigue, okay? So you're forced to generate more with your own energy with the Schrade than you are with the SE. The SE I can swing pretty lightly and really get a good penetration, get a good biting cut into that material. Okay, so how do we compare all of these? Let me adjust the camera. Okay, there we go, guys. So now that you can see my face again, let me provide some commentary on this. Okay, the choice that you need to make, number one, you need to realize that a large knife like the BK9, you know, and there are a number of knives like this from Ontario and Rat and, you know, Bussy and all kinds of them, but a large knife can actually do a better job at chopping than sometimes we would think. Like, you would look at these two tools and you would say, oh yeah, the Tomahawk should kill it. But because of the thinner edge geometry, this chops exceptionally well. Probably better, or at least as well as the Tomahawks, okay? Now, you know, take one step further up into these hatchets, and you do have, by the way, of course, these are designed specifically for chopping, so they're going to chop well, okay? And they do, for sure, chop really well, but they're heavier. So, if you're going out on a camping trip, if you're going out, whatever you're doing, you're going to have to consider, what kind of wood processing am I going to be doing? Am I going to need something that chops very, very well? You know, maybe you're building a shelter. Okay, so this would be a really good option, especially for building a shelter, this particular hatchet. And I'll do full reviews on all these that I haven't done reviews on. But this is going to, because of the thin edge geometry, there's some versatility here that maybe other hatchets, man, there we go, sorry about that, that maybe other hatchets aren't going to have. This one is, of course, very heavy, and again, if you're building a shelter, if you're going to be doing major wood processing, if you're homesteading, then an axe. But if you're going on a camping trip, this kind of represents a continuum, okay? All of these will probably do the job. Of course, the SE is going to be the worst, but you probably know about this already. You can get chopping done with a smaller fixed blade if you baton it into the material like this, right, and chop out wedges. It is more time consuming. Okay, so there's my sort of comparison of all of these, and I hope that gives you some idea. You should understand all of these will chop, and if you need to get chopping done, any one of them is acceptable. However, you need to ask the question, how much energy do I want to put out? Okay, as you look here, there's kind of a continuum, and the one thing that breaks the continuum, I think, is this. This is very lightweight. You can do a lot of chopping with very little energy used. it's still not going to be as good as this, okay? It's not. This is going to chop better than anything, and it's going to need the fewest strokes, okay? So if you're chopping down the tree, if you got a lot of wood processing, that's your option. However, if you are doing other things, you may want to consider some of these other tools. Even maybe if you're going on a day hike, the SE6 is all you need. You're just going to maybe have a small campfire somewhere and you need to process down a little wood. Hey, an SE6 is going to do the job for you. If you know it's overnight, if it's a week, you're going camping with your family, sure, a hatchet like this is probably the way to go. Also consider if you're taking a canoe or a car, of course, if you can, bring the biggest and easiest one, okay? So bring this if you're driving, why not? You're not carrying the weight. This is a great trade-off because it's lighter if you're walking, but you know you've got a lot of wood to process. This is it's almost as capable as the SE for considerably less weight, okay? Sorry, these won't all stick, there we go. So, hope this video is informative to you. You can see how all of these compare to one another, and certainly you could see how far they bit into the material. Probably the two standouts in this comparison, or the three standouts, are the two hatchets. Obviously chop the best. More weight, so therefore less energy used. Lighter weight, but almost as capable. So that's a choice there. As we come to these two, both are pretty efficient in terms of weight. The BK9 obviously offers that chopping ability that the SE doesn't, but the SE is probably going to be better for finer work. So if you're in a survival situation where you may be skinning animals or something, this may be something you'd lean toward. And finally, the two tomahawks. The difference in these two is that these are offering some combat ability as well. They're longer, so you've got more reach. Okay, think about in a situation where your life is in danger, maybe you're being attacked by wildlife or, you know, just another living being, which would you rather have, okay? I've got much more distance between me and my attacker with this than I do with this, all right? And even more with this. So, that's a consideration as well. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. This was kind of fun to do, and I've been wanting to get out and use all this kind of chopping stuff in a comparison for a while. So finally I've got the chance to do it as the weather here is getting a little bit nicer, although it's still not great. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will talk to you soon.